We have two people helping to light the chalice this morning together as a team, Georgia and Esme. Midway through December, the hours of daylight already few grow shorter still. A primeval fear stirs within as life-sustaining sunshine dwindles. And now, as our ancestors did in ages past, we kindle a flame against the darkness. So let there be light. Light to illuminate the faces of loved ones, light to vanquish the shadows of hatred and fear, light to bring hope to the despairing, light, the sweet light of love, may it unite us in peace. Thank you both. Welcome. It's a pleasure to welcome you here this morning. I was away for one Sunday and it feels like too long because I missed you. So welcome to this radically inclusive community of faith, which means that no matter who you are, you're welcome. There's a place for you here, no matter where you come from, what you believe, what you don't believe, no matter whether you are male or female or other, no matter whether you're able or disabled, black or white, whoever you are, whoever you love, you're welcome here. For those of you who are here for the very first time, especially warm welcome. I applaud your courage. There's nothing easy about coming into a place like this for the first time. But you can take a deep breath now because you made it through the door. You found out it's fairly safe here. Let us help you to feel welcome. Let us help you to feel at home here. And for all of you, I hope that in the next hour you find something that intrigues you, that interests you, that amuses you, something that maybe troubles you too. Because it's only when we're uncomfortable that we usually grow. And whoever you are not alone. You are welcome here. I'd like to invite you all to rise as you're able, and we're going to join in singing Morning Has Come. It's number 000.
Shines, the morning winter. And
it's Christmas then.
It's coming up for Christmas, isn't it? And what? Yes, Esme?
It's also part of the season is Advent.
Advent, yes. So it's all, everyone's quite focused on Christmas, isn't it? At the moment, yeah. But what do people who don't celebrate Christmas, what do they celebrate? Any ideas? What kind of other festivals are there about this time of year? Yes.
My friend from school, he said he doesn't celebrate
Christmas?
and he celebrates at lunchtime. He doesn't eat any food.
Okay.
Ramadan.
But he
talking
about.
Okay.
He only eats food when
After dark. Okay.
And in the morning.
Okay, before the sun comes out. Okay, so that's one thing people do. Esme? Oh, you had your hand up as well? Oh! So what other things do people celebrate? Do we have... Yes, Esme? Hannukah! Well done! Not your fault there at all. So yes, today is the first day of Hannukah that Jewish people celebrate. And it's a light festival. And there's other light festivals about this time of year. Can you think of any? What kind of things have lights around? Yes?
Christmas trees and Halloween have lights.
Halloween's got lights, Christmas tree's got lights, what else? Diwali. I might open up to the answers.
That was what I was going to say.
That was what she was thinking. Yes. So, one of the reasons that people have... What happens after dark? Just in general, what happens at the end of the day? It gets dark. And the nights are really, really long, aren't they? And what do people do before they had electricity? Hints.
Candles.
They had candles, but candles were quite expensive. So they could only really light one or two at a time, really. So it was still really dark. So sometimes they'd have a festival and they'd all get together and then they'd light all the candles together to light up the scare the dark. And that's one of the reasons that people have light festivals in the winter. Yes, both of them have their hands up again. What were we going to say?
Once my house, the lights weren't working, then we had to have our bath in candlelight.
That sounds really, really nice to happen once or twice, but not maybe every night, yeah? And Georgia?
When I had my whole class assembly over my winter one, it was my own one. Well, it was my own class one, and it was about Diwali. And there's so many lights, and we made this kind of pattern about Diwali.
At school, she had an assembly and they learned about Diwali. And that was really lovely. So, we go upstairs and learn more about light.
Yes.
Yay! Don't forget unicorn.
Perfect timing.
Are you being mad?
An excerpt from the Feast of Lights by Emma Elizabeth. Kindle the taper like the steadfast star, ablaze on evening's forehead o'er the earth, and add each night a lustre till afar an eightfold splendour shine above thy heart. Clash, Israel, the cymbals, touch the lyre, blow the brass trumpet and the harsh-tongued horn, chant psalms of victory till the heart takes fire, the Maccabean spirit leap newborn. Remember how from wintry dawn till night such songs were sung in Zion, when again on the high altar flamed the sacred light and purified from every Syrian stain.
If now I cannot see you, or be sure you ever stirred beyond the walls of dream, rising unbroken battlements to a sky heavy with constellations of desire, it is because those barricades are grown too tall to scale, too dense to penetrate, hiding the landscape of your distant life in which you move, as birds in evening air, far beyond sight, trouble the darkening sea with the low piping of their discontent.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Bodhi. Today's service is going to talk about conflict to some extent, and the headlines continue to be about conflict, and our only answer can be love. So will you please rise as you're able, and we'll join together in singing Standing on the Side of Love, number 1014. Growing up in a rather secular Jewish family, the holiday that starts this evening, Hannukah, was a special time, and it was special not for any religious reason per se, but it was special mainly because it was a time to get presents. And we get 8 small presents, one each night, which was a good deal. Hannukah was never actually, Hannukah was never actually much of a big holiday in the Jewish tradition. And it only became one when Jews started to live side by side with Christians and needed to have some balance with that big Christmas, overwhelming sort of thing. And in my family, we actually got gifts for Hanukkah and Christmas, which is probably how I ended up Unitarian, because I get to do everything, right? But, so the story of Hanukkah dates back to the 2nd century BCE, when Judea was occupied by the Syrian Empire. The emperor, Antiochus Epiphanes, was the bad guy in this story, and he came to power in 175 BCE. Under his rule, the Syrians tried to destroy the traditional religion of the Jews. And although his predecessors were routinely tolerant of the religions of the people that they ruled, Antiochus Epiphanes turned to oppression. And the Holy Temple in Jerusalem was looted and it was defiled. The purity of that place that was so essential for the religious life of the people was contaminated. A statue of Zeus was erected in the temple, and pigs, which are considered unclean, impure animals under Jewish law, were slaughtered right on the sacred altar. And Jews were killed, Jews were massacred, and the practice of Judaism was virtually outlawed. But as so often happens, oppression designed to suppress the Jews had the opposite effect, and it provoked a revolt by a group led by a family called the Maccabees. And to make a long story short, the Maccabees won, they defeated the occupiers, the temple was recaptured. And when the Jews restored the temple, they realized, whoa, there wasn't enough oil, enough sacred, ritually pure oil to keep the temple lamp burning for one day. And it would take 8 days to make more. And here's the miracle. The lamp oil burned for 8 days instead of just one. And it's always seemed to me a very strange little miracle. You know, like the milk lasted past its sell-by date. I know we don't have enough flour to make this cake, and then you just get that last bit out, and it is enough. That kind of miracle. But these were people who had survived war and who had survived oppression. They were tired and they were mourning, and they were still frightened that the Syrian army might come back in greater numbers, and they needed a miracle. And they needed something to remind them of the goodness that surrounded them, and there it was, this nice tiny little miracle. And maybe it was a miracle that they actually, maybe somebody, you know, Moshe, came in the dark of night when everybody else was sleeping, and he saved this little bit of oil and he stuck it in. It's a miracle! So that's fine. So we're left, though, with a Hannukah story about oppression, about religious freedom, about military revolt, about victory, and then about a strange miracle that's now marked publicly as an occasional balance to Christmas trees with electric menorahs in the streets. And it's a complicated story. It's complicated by the fact that it glorifies military solutions, not something we really want to hear right now. And it's actually even more complicated than that, because scholars now believe that the story really began with a civil war between traditional Jews, represented by the Maccabees, and Jews that had been influenced by Greek culture. On the other hand, the Hellenized Jews. So the Syrians then intervened against the Maccabees. So for some, the Syrian intervention was an intervention against the religious purists that they opposed, and for others, it was just oppression. So in many ways, then, the Hannukah story is actually about purity. The sense that things are clean, safe, free from contamination of all kinds. The name Hannukah comes from Chanak, meaning dedication or consecration. And the miracle of lights is fun, and it fits well into the season where, as Sarah said, we long for light. But the restoration of the temple to holiness, to purity, to cleanliness, that's central to the story. The desecration of the temple was an act of contamination. It was poison and filth poured into the heart of Jewish life, and everything that the people held holy and life-sustaining was under threat. And then the Maccabees, the heroes of the story, were on the side of purity. They drove off the occupying forces, defeated their Hellenized brethren, liberated the Jerusalem temple, and allowed it to be restored to its previous priestly purity. So Hannukah marks that restoration and rededication, repurification. Humans have a tendency to want purity. And what's the opposite of purity? And I don't think you'll be able to find a single positive-sounding antonym to purity. I looked it up. Contamination, adulteration, corruption, dirt, filth, pollution, stain, uncleanness, and foreign matter. Foreign matter, that's a little worrisome. But, I mean, not only are these words negative, they border on disgusting. And that's important, because disgust and impurity are tied together in our psychology. The human reaction to impurity, the threat of contamination, is disgust. Just think about that hair that you found in your food at some point. It's happened to all of us. Most people will react with disgust, even if the same hair by itself would be of no concern. Retailers advertise proudly how pure their products are. I don't know if, presumably ivory soap was in Britain too. 99 and 44 100% pure. And that sounds really good, but why does that sound good? I actually want some other stuff in myself. I want a moisturizer, I want a bit of fragrance, I want something to prevent it from being all mushy in the shower. You know it does. So pure soap is not actually great soap, but the manufacturers of ivory and so many other products know that purity sells. And purity for the Maccabees was not only about the Holy Temple, not only about the condition it was in, it was about the purity of their religion and their culture. And they didn't want to see it change to take on elements of Greek thought and culture, and they were prepared to fight and prepared to kill in the interest of that purity. And so this becomes now a different kind of story. Not simply a clear-cut legend of freedom fighters overcoming oppression. We also have a story about military struggle and a civil war about maintaining purity. The Maccabees, if recent scholarship is indeed right, were initially fighting other Jews to preserve the purity of 2nd century BCE Judaism against contamination with modernizing Greek ideas and culture. And the notions of purity and impurity and the disgust that comes with exposure to impurity are all very, very human responses. And they are with us all today. They play out not only in what we buy and what we eat, but in our societies and very much on the world stage. And most recently, our headlines have been filled with conflict and violence. ISIS, Boko Haram, and other groups that use terrorism as a strategy are seen as the main villains. And I do not want to draw unfair parallels or equate the barbaric cruelty of those groups with any other group that came before. And it is, however, useful and important to point out that for these Islamic fundamentalists, just as for many groups before them, including the Maccabees, the goal of the violence has a strong component of preserving purity. ISIS are intent on ending Western influence and Western hegemony, and they are equally intent on killing those who follow a form of Islam that they see as impure, a form that they see as contaminated by the influences of secular society and other religions. Purity has long been a motivator of division and conflict and cruelty. Fear of foreigners has always involved an element of purity thinking. Every genocide has used disgust to motivate hatred against a group of people seen as impure, as contaminating the dominant group culture. Many countries have had, and some still have, laws forbidding interracial marriages. The French, as many other countries do, protect the purity of their language. The fears of impurity may seem irrational or archaic to us here, but the fears are very, very real. The fear of an impure blood, the fear of contaminating culture, the fear of a life-sustaining faith being undermined, the fear of one's own pure essence being diluted and lost. The desire for purity and the disgust for its opposite are built in to human psychology. At its most basic level, clean food is safe food. We feel disgust at physical contamination of our bodies and of the spaces in which we live. And this basic psychology has broader effects than physical purity. The same response can come into play when we encounter people who appear different from us, have ways of intimacy that are different from our own, and even ways of thinking that appear foreign. Religious purity is distantly related to personal physical purity. And some of the heat and fury in protecting religious purity comes from those same basic responses. There was a time when cultural and religious purity were not threatened with contamination so often or so rapidly, and in today's world, mixing happens faster and it happens more suddenly. Television broadcasts Western ways and values into cultures where they're unwelcome, and the change threatens the notions of religious purity. And it's worth remembering this when we find the fury of others inexplicable. It's worth remembering this even when we wonder at the intensity of our own reactions to people who are different and to changes in what we've come to regard as the right and pure ways to act and to think. But the challenge of purity comes even closer to our lives than that. Purity and love are at odds. Have you ever fallen in love with someone and set up house together? Do you remember what you fought about? Cleaning, tidiness, personal habits. Remember being bothered by someone else's style of cleaning. They didn't do it right. The kitchen's a mess. How can you leave those dishes? How can you think you have to leave? It's about purity. Purity is clean and tidy. It means your ideas being unchallenged, your space being your own, your day-to-day life being determined by your own choices. To protect purity, if we're going to be pure, we need very high, very strong boundaries to keep the other out. And love? People are messy. Even tidy people are messy. People don't always think the way we do. They often have different habits, different ways of living from our own. Loving people, damn them, means lowering the boundaries that we build against impurity. Love changes us. We may look back and notice that it was for the better in the long run, but it always changes us. And all those negative words about the opposite of purity come into play as we feel our high and strong boundaries being challenged. We have to choose between purity and love in our own lives, and we have to recognize with compassion that the choice is difficult for others too. So this Hannukah, as we light candles or we see them around, let's remember that there is a choice to be made and that we choose love. Happy Hanukkah. May it be so. We're going to have a collection now. Collections here are always given away to charity. And we have, because it's a new month, there's a new charity. It's called Aquaba. And it is a Sunday event that takes place for refugees and for migrants right here in Hackney. They offer free meals, free English classes, free Wi-Fi, free computer classes, free help with CVs. So please give generously to help refugees and migrants. I'll also be circulating the usual